Now, I said that the Institute was not only interested in inventing new ways to do science and new technologies and new computational tools, it's really interested in thinking about new ways of doing science. And what I'd like to do now is tell you a little bit about that. So, strategic partnerships, I think, are going to be a key part of science in the future. And they are because with these new cross-disciplinary opportunities, we can take challenging problems such as P4 medicine, and I can write out 12 to 15 milestones, which if we conquer them, we could succeed in really catalyzing this kind of change. As I look at these milestones, I see that our institute could maybe do a third of them, but they require mathematical, computational, engineering, physical, and even social kinds of challenges that clearly is going to require reaching out and creating strategic partners. And if there's anything I've come to realize, it's that the world now can be virtual, so you don't have to be circumscribed by what's adjacent to you. You can say, who is the best person in the world for carrying out this task? And you go get them. I set up a collaboration, as I said earlier, with Jim Heath to do nanotechnology and Mike Phelps to do molecular imaging at Caltech and UCLA, respectively. With the nanotech, I went to about 10 centers and I interviewed the directors, and it was really clear one of these young people stood out head over heels above the rest in terms of really understanding that these new technologies had to be driven by biology. That was the simple determining item. And I think we can set up similar kinds of interactions with industry, and we're doing, especially, we're talking with obviously Microsoft and Google about some of the IT health needs of the future and so forth. And there's some terrific opportunities with drug companies as well. There are a lot of really interesting societal issues. So if we look at the medicine of today, it's posse parameter, it's reactive and not very effective, but in the future it's going to have these new diagnostic approaches and these new therapeutic approaches, and really it's going to be focused on wellness and prevention and so forth. And my prediction is if you put together the prevention that will emerge over the next 20 years, together with really transformational changes that are occurring as we speak in our understanding, A, of aging, and B, of neurologic degenerative diseases, I would make the bold prediction that over the next 20-some years, we'll add 10 years or more to our productive and creative lifespans. And of course, what's interesting about that is that creates lots and lots of social challenges. Society treats old people really poorly. What are we going to do with all these creative 85-year-olds that could do really interesting things? Or how are we going to make room for the new 20-year-olds that'll be coming? So I think this is, these opportunities are disruptive in a social sense. They're disruptive in an ethical sense, the issue of we're going to have billions of units of information on every single one of you in 10 years. What about genetic privacy, informational privacy, and how do we handle that? When I talked with Larry Page at Google, that was the first problem he brought up, because he said Google spends about 20% of its workforce dealing with hackers and their destructive tendencies. So these represent really interesting challenges. So at the Institute, we've taken steps to really think about how to interface with society. So as you heard, one thing we've done for the past 20 years, even when I was in Pasadena, is K-12 science education. And I think we've been remarkably successful in Seattle in catalyzing fundamental paradigm changes, affected through professional teacher training, affected through inquiry-based thinking with deep content, and I'd be glad to tell you more about that. But we now have programs at the elementary, at the middle school, and at the high school level, and we can see from the tests that remarkable changes have been made.